Big was as big as New York City, and it's one of the reasons why Carrie was so enamored with him for 6 seasons straight. Some say that it's the only reason why Carrie was so starstruck in love with him. I couldn't help but wonder, what if Big wasn't rich? Hello there, and welcome to my channel, where I analyze and talk about TV shows that I like. Around here, the curtain is blue for a reason. There's always a reason. Let's discuss. I'd like to separate the question, what if Big wasn't rich, into 3 different guides for this conversation. We'll use this image of Chris Noth for the scenario, what if Big was never rich? He never came from a waspy family, he was never involved in high society circles like Charlotte, but he made a comfortable income, with about as much of a yearly salary as Carrie. This Big is our Big, the one we already know, and this Big will be an alternate hypothetical that I think would be interesting to include in this discussion. What if Big was rich when he and Carrie met, but somewhere down the line he lost his money? Maybe the stock market crashed, or he got on a few elites' bad sides and was no longer connected to high status finance job positions. Let's start with the first one. What if Big was never rich? My theory is that if Big was never rich, Carrie wouldn't have fallen head over heels in love with him. But the reasoning isn't as black and white. Let me explain. In the very first episode where Big is introduced, he's not even called Big yet. We don't get a name or a nickname until the second episode. Carrie's first impressions of him were, he's very handsome, he's not wearing a wedding ring, and he knows I carry around a personal supply of Trojans. But in the second episode, which had the theme of men that only date models, Big approaches her and Carrie thinks it was Mr. Big, major tycoon, major dreamboat, and majorly out of my league. Wait, what happened between episode 1 and 2 where he went from handsome bachelor to majorly out of her league? In the first episode, Samantha informed her that he was a big shot, but that's just rumors and hearsay. It wasn't until the end of the first episode where Carrie was clued in a little bit more. After failing to hail a cab, Carrie says, "And so another Friday night in Manhattan crept towards dawn, and just when I thought I would have to do the unspeakable, walk home. Well, get in for Christ's sake. Where can I drop you?" Now, I understand that this is just simply giving someone a ride, but take note that Carrie can obviously see that Big has a private driver, so now Carrie knows that the rumors were true. He's Mr. Big for a reason. The rest of season 1, episode 2 is focused on Carrie gathering research for her column concerning guys that only date models. What are you writing about this week? Well, I'm working on a story about men who date models. Any thoughts? Only that they're very lucky. So what have you discovered about these men who are dating models? Well, I'm discovering that some of them treat it as a competitive sport, and others I think just need the validation, and probably others just have a thing for exceptionally beautiful women. Throughout the series, we see Carrie's insecurity and feeling of he's way out of my league grow and grow. It started off here in episode 1 because he's ridiculously rich compared to her and lives a completely different life. But in episode 2, Carrie learns that Big doesn't date women like her, women that weren't models or model-esque. This feeling of being inadequate gets worse and worse. In season 3, episode 3, after seeing in the paper that Big and Natasha got married, she says this to Charlotte: "He wasn't the right man for you." I know that. I know. It's not him. It's the whole wedding, and it's her. She's just, shiny hair, style section Vera Wang, and I'm the sex column that they run next to ads for penile implants. Carrie compared herself to the models that Big dated, to Barbara in season 1, episode 8, and to Natasha. Although Big did say to her in season 1, episode 2, but the thing is, after a while, you just want to be with the one that makes you laugh. You know what I mean? His actions speak a lot louder than words. He never said Natasha was particularly funny. He said she was beige and boring, and yet they were married. This feeling that Big was bigger than life, as big as New York City, contributed to Carrie's feelings that she wasn't good enough for him, and it led to a lot of insecure feelings and issues in their relationship, but it was also what she fell in love with. Note the difference in dialogue when Carrie still thought that Big only chose models versus when she thinks there's a chance for them to get together. I began to realize that being beautiful is like having a rent-controlled apartment overlooking the park, completely unfair and usually bestowed upon those who deserve it least. I'm not interrupting your work, am I? I can't stay, I'm late for a meeting, but I've been thinking about your article about men who date models. What about them? First of all, well, there are so many goddamn gorgeous women out there in this city. What an amazing observation. But the thing is, after a while, you just want to be with the one that makes you laugh. You know what I mean? Okay, see ya. I take that back. Beauty is fleeting, but a rent-controlled apartment overlooking the park is forever. Big went from rich guy out of my league to charming, suave guy that I have a crush on. It's not so much the actual money that Big had that Carrie fell in love with. It was the access to certain things that Big's money provided. The lifestyle, the glamour, and the personality that comes with it. Having a private car sweep her off her feet numerous times throughout the show absolutely charmed her. Having a guy that normally picks models pick her enamored her. And let's be real, these beautiful supermodels are not whining and dining with guys that don't have access to the same things that Big has access to. Season 4, episode 16, Carrie has to buy her apartment, and after running around looking for loans or cheaper apartments, she turns to Big. I guess she thought he could give her some inside tips on day trading or something like that. I'm not really sure how she thought he could help her magically get $30,000, but regardless, she knows that Big knows money and is in contact with a lot of people in the finance world. When Miranda and Samantha offer to loan the money, $15,000 each, she considers it very sweet and thoughtful. So of course, she also thought of Big as sweet and thoughtful for just handing over a check for $30,000. The biggest flaunting of Big's money was when he flew all the way to Paris in season 6, episode 20, and rescued Carrie after her and Alexander broke up. He had to take a last-minute flight, he hired a private driver to drive around Paris looking for her, and don't mistake this as a taxi. This is a taxi. This is Big in a private car. And I guess he just walked into nice-looking hotels until he found the one that Carrie was staying in. You wouldn't be able to do any of this unless you had the funds for it. This grand gesture, this rescue operation, this ridiculous, inconvenient, consuming, can't live without each other love is what she wanted, and that comes at a price. Don't forget that the last time Carrie saw Big, she screamed at him, rightfully so, that she was so done with him. But here he is in Paris, and he's saying that she's the one on a beautiful bridge. Now, I realize that this might make some people believe that Carrie just loves grand gestures, which can be achieved without being rich. One of the most famous sitcom proposals, Chandler and Monica, featured what many people consider a grand gesture, but really it was just a bunch of candles beautifully lit around the apartment. This does not require you to be rich, especially if you're thrifty. It's still considered extremely romantic, and it means a lot. Now, it is true that in season 1, episode 12, Big offered to take Carrie on a vacation, all expenses paid, in order to make up for not introducing Carrie to his mom. But by the end of the episode, they break up because he can't say "you're the one" to her. Carrie valued this sentence over the grand gesture of a free Caribbean vacation. And it is true that when Carrie was dating Alexander, another very well-off man, she chose to go to McDonald's over a fancy restaurant, making some think that she doesn't care that much about the lifestyle that Alexander's money provides access to. But I consider those two incidences isolated, unique anomalies. In Big's case, this was when their relationship was already on thin ice. Carrie had felt throughout all of season 1 that Big was hiding her, not introducing her to his friends, that they weren't in an exclusive relationship. She didn't like that he said he never wanted to get married. Things were very much all over the place, and in their first breakup, it culminated when she put her foot down and took a stand. Say I'm the one. Give me some sign, in a way that I want, that we have a future. And we saw how that turned out, breaking up. With Alexander, it's not that Alexander asked her, "Hey, do you want Paris or McDonald's?" and she chose McDonald's. She was just absolutely sick of his poetry, his old style romance, and a lot of his behavior that she considered cringe. So she picked something low-key to just bring it all down a notch: McDonald's. Fact of the matter is, even in the movies, Carrie continues to be enamored by the things that Big's money provides. helping her fall more and more in love with him as the years go by. In the first movie, they're looking for an apartment together, and after falling in love with a gorgeous penthouse, this conversation happens. How is this place even available? Nasty divorce. If you lived here, what is there to fight about? Well, now I understand the divorce. I can build you a better closet. Welcome home, baby. Can we afford this? I got it. Just like that. Like he was picking up a check for coffee or something. Look how happy and in love she looks just describing what happened to her friends. We also know that the wedding was going to cost a lot of money, but that didn't end up happening, so I'm not going to include that. In the second movie, after Carrie cheats on Big, she comes home to a gorgeous ring. How's that for a little sparkle? That's a lot of sparkle. Why'd you get a black diamond? Because you're not like anyone else. That's a relief. I thought you were going to say it's the color of my soul. Now, there's obvious symbolism around the ring, around any ring. It doesn't have to be a black diamond. But it really doesn't help that when they exchange anniversary gifts earlier and she's upset about the TV, she says, well, a piece of jewelry would have been nice. Side note, I know a lot of people hate that Big got her the TV because it seemed like it was more so a gift for him rather than for her, but they did enjoy watching black and white movies on the trip they just took, and he mentioned that they could watch black and white movies again together, so I do think there was some good intention in this gift, even if he also enjoys it himself. So what if Big was never rich? He would have just been another guy. A lot of his arrogance and cockiness comes from the fact that he's had a spoiled life, that he can date models and travel around the world whenever he wants, that he can drop $1 million on a penthouse without even blinking. And it's that energy that Carrie falls in love with, this grandiose person, which makes sense because Carrie is also a very grandiose person. Don't forget, she has spent $40,000 on shoes alone. That amount of money on just shoes would be inconceivable to average Joes. It was a lot easier to go into massive credit card debt back then, and she even said to Aiden, I charged tomatoes, because she had nothing in her bank account. Note, a lot of her clothes were vintage and she did like to go thrifting, so I'm not including any of that into her lifestyle, but those shoes were all brand new. She constantly talked about shoe shopping and mentioned the prices with Miranda when she needed a down payment for her apartment. Season 4, episode 16. But what if Big was as rich as he was, but then suddenly lost his money? Let's say the stock market crashed, and instead of making however million a year, he now makes something like $75,000 a year, something like that. This drastic fall from heaven actually reminds me of season 6, episode 11. This is the episode where Big mentions that he needs heart surgery, which he continuously says is no big deal. But Carrie is heartbroken over hearing this. The hospital released him, and Big was presumably feeling okay, so he just checked himself into the Four Seasons, since he lived in Napa, California at the time, and didn't tell Carrie, who had to call the hospital, then the Four Seasons, and figure out what room he's staying in. Around that evening though, Big starts not feeling well, and all of a sudden, this conversation happens. So I guess this is what we'd be like in our 70s, huh? No sex and board games. Aw, you're already thinking about your next birthday? Seriously, kid, you and me, the early bird special? Big starts to make a face, and Carrie finds out he has a fever now. Okay, thank you so much, doctor. Well, he thinks you're gonna be fine. You're an angel, you know that? Nah, I'm just doing my job. I'm serious. What are we doing? I'm talking about us. Life's too short. What are we doing? Look at that progress between Big and Carrie. But in the morning, he's feeling a lot better. Hey, how long have you been up? Just a few minutes. How are you feeling? Better. I feel like myself again. Let's see. I'm fine. Excuse me. It was a shift imperceptible to anyone but me. But I knew Big's heart had closed again. Maybe it would reopen in another 5 years. Maybe it wouldn't. But I knew myself well enough to know that that's not enough. And just like that, once he was back in heaven, back to feeling like himself again, rich and healthy with the world at his feet, Carrie gets tossed aside. If Big was rich, but then suddenly wasn't, after Carrie had already fallen in love with him, their relationship probably would have developed a lot faster than it did in the show. When Big is down on his luck, he quickly attaches himself onto Carrie. Think back to when he was unhappy in his marriage with Natasha. He immediately sought out Carrie. I don't want to paint a picture where Carrie only loves Big because of his money, because if that were true, then she could have easily stayed with Alexander, or met someone else that was rich. There were other factors involved, but fact of the matter is, Big's personality, his behavior, and all of his mannerisms really wouldn't be the same if he didn't grow up around money and presently have all the money he has access to. And that is what Carrie is really after. The lifestyle, the glamour, the possibilities, the opportunities. This version of Big never had a chance with her. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Would Carrie have continued to love Big if he had lost all of his money? What if he never had money in the first place? Let me know in the comments, and if you have a suggestion for the next video, feel free to leave that in the comments as well. Thanks so much for watching. See y'all next time.